Guys, we are back after a 1 week hiatus, and we're ready to tackle this difficult, ugly Week 12 slate. So stay tuned, guys.
Fantasy football, you dealing with the best. Keep it hype, authentic, this ain't nothing like the rest. With the Armchair Fantasy Show podcast, give advice for all the listeners to improve your stats. Yeah, we live on goingfor2.com. Tuesdays and Fridays, this is what you want. Talking dynasties and daily drafts, and we just getting started, that ain't even the half. Yeah, so go ahead, tell your friends to join. Going for two, cause no one remembers the extra point. Hey, goingfor2.com, the Armchair Fantasy Show.
What's going on, guys? All right, welcome to the Armchair Fantasy Show, episode 120. I'm your host, of course, Geoff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are live every Tuesday and Friday nights on Facebook Live, Periscope, and YouTube. And, of course, streaming in all your major podcast networks and in the Going for Two app for iOS and Android. I'm here, as always, with my two co-hosts, Mr. Gerson. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. And Tim over there, I know me and you played this week, man. It's a big game for both of us. How you doing over there?
Oh, yeah, man. I've been looking forward to this game all season. I'm actually really happy I didn't go. I think I told you I was going to go, and they moved it to a night game. So actually, I'm kind of happy I didn't go now.
Yeah.
It should be a great one. I can't wait for Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm nervous. You know, the wife's a Packers fan, so I need to get this game when she has bragging rights the rest of the season. So, all right, before we get into the slate, guys, I just wanted to kind of thank everybody out there that's, you know, watching this right now on Facebook. Everyone knows I had a death in the family this past week, and everybody kind of reached out to me and gave me a bunch of, thoughts and prayers, and I appreciate that. For those that don't know, I lost my brother-in-law this past week on Friday. He lost a lifelong battle with heroin, unfortunately. He had been clean for 14 years. He relapsed back in September. And then he overdosed on Friday, so really unfortunate. With heavy heart, we had to cancel the last show, but we're back, and no more negative stuff, man. Let's just jump right into the slate now. We'll start with the quarterbacks here, Tim. Let's go to you first, man. Who do you got for your top-tier quarterbacks?
Yeah, my favorite quarterback this week, I think I'm going to go right to it, it's Matt Ryan. There aren't too many great games on this slate, and so if you look at the over-unders, I'm going to go right to the top, highest projected game on the week is Falcons and Buccaneers. I like Jameis too, but I think that Matt Ryan, especially at home, gives you a bit more safety. I also think he probably has a better upside as well. We're going to talk, I think that's one of those eruption weeks we'll get to later. Plus, it's a 28 projected total. It's basically the highest. It's more or less tied with the Browns. So I think probably the safest play and probably one of the highest upside plays is going to be Matt Ryan. So I'm going to have him in a lot of lineups and try to get to him in cash.
Yeah, this is one of the first weeks where we only had one game in that 50-plus range for over-unders, and it's kind of crazy to only have that one game. We've gotten kind of used to having at least two, maybe three sometimes, but yeah, that game's going to be a high-scoring game, and definitely want to have exposure to it, so Ryan is a good play as well. I have him on my list. Gerson, who do you have on?
Before we dive in, man, I just want to say, I know people in the industry have already talked about it, but it's kind of an ugly week, so you're definitely going to have to look around and try and find you're going to have to be pretty tight this week. I think the cash is going to be pretty tight. It's going to come down to a couple decisions here or there, and I think it's a great GPP week.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, if you're a tournament player, I think this is a good week for you. People like Gerson out there, Gerson could take home all the money this week because I think the cash is ugly this week.
Yeah, I agree. I have a guy on one of my chats that was talking about this might be his smallest player pool in the history of him playing, which has been about 5 years. So it's an ugly slate for sure. Gerson, who do you got as your top quarterback?
I'm just letting everybody know Geoff has like 500 chats.
I do, actually.
No, kidding. So I think Tim already stole the top two plays, Jameis and Matt Ryan. I love Jameis this week against Atlanta. Atlanta, the bottom 5 defense against the pass. Overall, I haven't projected for ownership of 13%. I expect that to go higher when people realize how ugly this slate is. They're like, oh yeah, let's just let's not play. No, just play Matt Ryan and Jameis Winston. But I love him a lot. One other guy I'm really looking at, and I'm probably going to play a lot of heavy volume on him, is Russell Wilson against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's no mystery. You attack Philadelphia Eagles through the pass. Their defense is still pretty solid. Overall, he's projected for 13% ownership, and Wilson's looking good lately. I mean, there's MVP shadows about him, Lamar Jackson, and if Mahomes was still, healthy, he probably would have been in there too. But Wilson's been very efficient, and he also has that rushing upside. So I expect this Eagles defense to get after him and get some of those rushing yard upside that he can get. He's 6,800, a little bit more expensive, but I don't mind him with DK Metcalf and the tight end Jacob Hollister, probably guys that are on my sheet, so I probably shouldn't be mentioning them. But yeah, I'm all in on Russell Wilson this week. I think he's probably one of my favorite plays. It is at Philadelphia though, so I will say this. I know this for a fact. Russell Wilson, when he has cross-country trip on the road, doesn't do D-backs. But I think in this matchup, it's perfect for him.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, there's two West Coast teams coming east for a 1 o'clock game. I think, isn't Oakland coming to the East Coast as well this week?
Yep.
They're going to New York.
Yeah, so yes, two West Coast games coming east for a 1 o'clock game. That's usually tough. But I like Wilson as well. He was on my list. Actually, I only had Ryan and Wilson as my top tier, so I'll give you one of my mid-tier guys. Everyone's going to kind of be on this guy. I think he's going to be pretty chalky, but Mr. Baker Mayfield, he's now had 2 good games in a row coming off his I think he's had 2 multi-touchdown games back-to-back, and he hasn't had any all season. So he gets the Miami Dolphins, which we all know, terrible on defense, terrible on offense, just terrible in general. I think Baker Mayfield could be a nice stack with OBJ. You can go the Landry route with the revenge narrative. You can even do a Mayfield stack with Kareem Hunt, a cheap running back that we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, Mayfield is going to be my guy this week that I'm looking at in the mid-tier. Tim, we'll go to you. Who do you got for your mid-tier quarterback?
The only one we haven't mentioned, well, before we move on, I don't want to skip over Drew Brees. A buddy of mine used to always say death, taxes, and Brees at home, so I have to mention that. He's got third highest over-under on the board, and obviously he's got some of the best pass catchers in the game, so don't want to skip over him. I think Ryan and Cash, Brees in tournaments. I like the Wilson call as well. We mentioned Winston. The only other mid-tier call that I have is Garrison's boy Derek Carr. The way to attack the Jets this year, we just mentioned about a West Coast team coming east, but the Jets' pass defense has just been so terrible this year. They're one of the top teams, if not the top team, I think, against the run. And so, obviously, the way that you attack them is with the pass. We saw a couple weeks ago Danny Dimes just tear this team up. He was one of the highest projected on the slate that day. And I'm not saying that I think Carr's going to, put up a 30-point day or anything like that, but more than enough to pay off his $6,000 in salary. So he's going to be one of my favorite stat candidates this week, and he's one of my favorite mid-tier plays.
Yeah, I love it. I love that call. Yeah, I overlooked him a little bit, but yeah, I think he's definitely a good call as well. Gerson, who do you got for your mid-tier?
Baker Mayfield, so I don't really have anybody else.
All right, then go ahead and give us one of your values then.
I think he's the only value that I like, to be honest. Jeff Driscoll, kind of pains me to say that because I never thought – I didn't even know who this guy was until – I didn't even know who the backup for the Lions was when they said Matthew Stafford was going to be out or, like, he had a neck injury and whatnot. Because I had Matthew Stafford in my season long. I'm like, oh, fuck. Who the hell do I – and then I was like, I don't even know who this guy is. But he's $5,000, $5,500. I think he can be more of a contrarian play this week. I'm hoping – because everybody's paying up for quarterback. That's what I'm feeling like. So if I can pay down for quarterback at him against the Redskins, bottom 10 defense against quarterback, they just allowed Sam Darnold to carve him up. So, I mean, not saying that he's Sam Darnold. Obviously, Sam Darnold's probably better, but I don't know if he really is, though. But he has he has rushing upside, too, so I don't mind that. I think he's he's cheap. $5,500 allows you to pay up for, like, the chalk player, that wide receiver, running back, and tight end. And this week is a really ugly week, so if I want to get cheap, he's definitely the way I'm going to go with. Against the Washington Redskins. I mean, come on, guys. Redskins. They're selling their tickets for $5, guys. I was they were $5.
Crazy thing is they're selling it for $5, but parking's still like $50. So they're getting you one way or the other. Yeah. All right, Tim, let's go to you. Who do you got for your value quarterback?
The only guy we haven't talked about so far is Carson Wentz. I think he's probably going to be one of the more popular value options this week just because of that game environment. I would say that after the Atlanta and Tampa Bay game, Seattle and Philadelphia probably has the most upside of any other game on the board. And then I saw today that there's a good chance that Jadeveon Clowney may not play in this game. He didn't practice all week, and he's currently questionable.
Good call.
So I think that if he doesn't play, I think that's going to be even better. Carson Wentz is not one of the better quarterbacks when he's being pressured, but if they lose Clowney, I think that's a big part of their pressure there. So I think that that's going to help. Whether he plays or not, though, I think Carson Wentz is a good play. He's got plenty of stack options, and he's really cheap. He's only $100 more than Driscoll. So I agree with Gerson, though. I think for the most part, people are going to be paying all the way up or paying all the way down. So I think if you're going to pay all the way down, if you really want to stack those middle positions on your roster, Wentz is another good option for you.
Yeah, the only other option I have, and it's definitely more of a tournament play, is Ryan Tannehill, and it's because of his rushing upside. He's had a couple good games in a row now. Actually, I think other than the game he came into midweek or in mid-game, he's had at least 20 points or more in 3 straight, and then he had his bye week. I know it's Jacksonville; they got a tough pass defense. They're not quite as tough as they used to be with no Samuel, no Jalen there anymore. Jalen Ramsey, of course. But I think that Tannehill with his rushing upside, and he's got some decent weapons. He's got a good tight end, some good receivers. I think Tannehill can be sneaky. Definitely a tournament play, though. Don't put him in your cash game lineups. I'm actually starting him in my season-long league this week because I got Kyler Murray on a bye, and I got Garoppolo as my other quarterback, and I don't trust him versus Green Bay, so I got Tannehill as my starter right now. So I'm hoping that he plays pretty decent this week. I think even in DFS, his price allows you to play him as well.
Why don't you trust Jimmy G? What's wrong, Geoff?
Yeah, no, not doing it. Not doing it. not when I'm putting money on the line. Not when I'm putting money. I'll defend him on Facebook, but when it comes down to
I got a feeling it's going to be a Tevin Coleman game personally, so I kind of like that call.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we're going to run the ball, or at least attempt to run the ball as much as we can and keep it out of his hands for sure. He's too mistake prone, and you can't make mistakes against Aaron Rodgers because he'll burn you every time. All right, so is there any other quarterbacks we haven't talked about before we move on to the tight ends?
I think I'm just going to mention him because Dak Prescott against New England. I think that could be very contrarian because this game's going to be. I think this one. It's very. It was strange because when I saw Vegas odds, this game was like a lot lower scoring than I thought. I thought they would have it at 48.5. They have it at 45, I believe. I don't know if it moved up or not, but I was like, wow, okay. And they had the Patriots up by favored by 6.5. I think Dak Prescott's going to have to, make a comeback. They're going to have to keep it competitive, and he's going to be passing the ball a lot. Overall, he's been killing it lately, so I have to mention him.
Yeah, that's a good call there, too, because, he's up there, like, even in season-long leagues. I think he's, like, the second highest quarterback right now in season-long leagues. He's been playing out of his mind this year, so good call. All right, let's go ahead and move into the tight end position. We'll go to you this time, Tim, for your tight end. Who's your top tight end this week?
It's going to be Zach Ertz. I just mentioned I like Carson Wentz. One of the big reasons I like him is going to be because of Seattle's defense against the tight end. They're bottom 5 in getting points, PPR points to the tight end. And obviously we've seen over the last couple of weeks Zach Ertz kind of step back into that role that he had before. I believe he has 11 targets in 3 straight weeks or something like that. I mean, he's just killing it. There was a while there we were kind of wondering what was going on. They kind of seemed like they lost their connection a little bit, but I feel like that connection is back again. And Ertz is who we always know he's going to go to, especially when he's in trouble. I'm looking at the Philadelphia injury report right now. Nelson Aguilar did not practice all week, so I think that there's probably a good chance that they run some 2 tight end sets. So I'll go ahead and give you a preview of my value. I like both of the Eagles tight ends this week. I think Ertz is definitely the safer option. He also has more upside, but I think that if you want to go Goddard as a value, I like him as well. So I like those stacks all in there. You could even play both of them if you really want.
Yeah, I like both of those guys as well. I have them both on my list, and we've seen it in recent weeks where both of them can be viable. I think last week Goddard had a touchdown, and then, of course, Ertz had 9 for 94, so they can both play really well, especially with those receivers. I believe, is Alshon Jeffrey already ruled out, or is he still a possibility to play this week?
He's still my play, yep.
Yeah, so there's another injury out to kind of monitor there as well. So I love that call. And Seattle's, I think, 23rd DVOA versus the tight end, so definitely a good play. Gerson, let's go to you. Who do you got for your top-tier tight end?
I think Zach Ertz is definitely that top tier tight end. Like I think he's on a tier all by himself.
Fair
but
enough.
if I was going to go to another guy, I mean, I have to go to.
Waterville, baller, shot caller, twin play, only baller, caller.
I'm not playing that button.
I was waiting for it.
Zach Ertz, I mean, Darren Waller, man. Like, I'll admit it. He hasn't done the best in like the last. Well, it's okay, but just not like what we first saw at the beginning of the season, you know. But he's kind of fallen off. But it's because I can't even say his name. Is it Monroe or I can't just
Foster Moreau.
Moreau, yeah, him.
Yeah.
He's been getting a lot of touches, but in the last game last week, he got back to his original high target. I was very happy to see that. I mean, overall, the Jets have allowed a 50-yard game in 7 games. He has 50 yards in 7 games. And Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, and George Kittle, you know, that's a pretty good matchup there. And the Jets overall allowing a 6-catch, 95-yard game to Mike Gesicki. Kind of, you know, I think that Waller's a little better than Gesicki. But it does put a little damper into my kind of, you know, like I had to look at it. I'm like, can I risk it? But I think we can. What's his name? CJ Mosley is going to be out. That defense is overall not that great. Jamal Adams will be covering Darren Waller, though, and he is a pretty good cover safety. But I think I'm just going to play Darren Waller. I mean, the field kind of agrees with me. They have him almost at 18% ownership. So I like Darren Waller. And I'm not just, I mean, yes, I am saying that because I'm a Raiders fan. Just kidding.
Let's go ahead and stay on you, Gerson, because you got one more guy on your list there that's under your top tier box there that, you know, me and Tim basically had Ertz and Waller. Who's your other guy you got there?
Greg Olsen, is that who you're talking about?
Yep.
Okay, just double checking here because I was like, wait. Yeah, I like Greg Olsen. His guy gets a lot of targets. New Orleans overall, they're going to have to pass the ball to catch up with them. New Orleans scored so many points, and overall that defense, Carolina, is not as good as it was advertised at the beginning of the season. We've seen them fall off they fell off something. I don't know what they fell off, but overall people have been attacking through the run game. And I think, what's his name? The quarterback, Kyle Allen?
Kyle Allen, yep.
I was going to say Josh Allen, damn it. But
it's too many Allens.
Kyle Allen, we've seen him lately. They finally, a lot of teams are just blitzing him. They're figuring out that he's not good under pressure. And Greg Olsen's been the guy that's been sort of getting a lot of reception. I mean, he has almost 500 yards, on the season. I mean, I know that's only 2 touchdowns, but overall, he's not that highly priced. And I think with Greg Olsen, you want target, and that's what he gets. He gets a lot of target, and that's what I look for my tight end and safety blanket for Kyle Allen.
Yep, good call. I like that as well. And you know, I think that's all the top tier guys there. And there's a guy that was mentioned in the chat. And I know he's on your list as well, Tim. Moving into the mid tier, and that's Vance McDonald. Go up against obviously this terrible Cincinnati defense here, and of course they're out without a bunch of their receivers. Juju's going to be out. Their running back's going to be out. Connor's going to be out. So, and there's some possibility that Deontay Johnson plays. It seems like he's been practicing in a limited fashion, so he may actually make it to the field. But I still think Vance McDonald picks up some of that slack, you know, gets some of those targets, and he's over the middle of the field, and he can catch a lot of those little short passes that they're going to be dumping off. Mr. Mason Rudolph dumping off to him. So I think Vance McDonald. Go ahead.
I think Deontay Johnson or whatever his name is, Thompson or Johnson.
Johnson.
Whatever one it is. But I think he's going to play. But then I saw a report that Deion Kane been practicing with the starters.
Oh, really? I didn't see that. Wow.
So I'd be shocked if he actually starts along those 2 other wide receivers. So, but I would look at the news like this week going to be a week where you're going to want to look at the news on Sunday morning because a lot of things can change, a lot of values. Look at Vegas. So sorry to interrupt you.
Yep, you're good, man. You're good. Tim, I'll go ahead and go to you now. I know you had Vance on your list as well. Anything you want to talk about Vance, and if not, move on to the next guy.
No, I think you kind of covered it. I mean, I think he's 3,500 on DraftKings, so he's already one of the cheapest guys on the slate, and we expect a higher roll. Plus, he's been getting good volume lately. But one of my favorite plays, tight end on this slate, is going to be Ryan Griffin. He was one of the guys I was on last week, and one of the few guys I got right last week. It just seems like whenever Sam Darnold gets down into the red zone, he just looks for Ryan Griffin. They even kind of have a connection. I think there was one play last week where it broke down, and They went into kind of like a scramble drill, and he knew exactly what to do. He broke down the sideline for a touchdown. He has been priced up a little bit. I think he's 4,200 on DraftKings. But I think, if you're going to, play some of the other guys we've talked about, I think you can find it. Oakland, again, is the bottom 10 against tight ends. So that's definitely a way that you can expose that defense. And like I said, when you're talking about a guy that gets the looks in the red zone, those are obviously the most valuable targets you can get. So, yeah, he's a little bit more expensive than some of these other guys we're talking about, but Gerson mentioned earlier Jacob Hollister. He's the same price as Jacob Hollister. He's $100 more than Greg Olsen. And in my personal opinion, I think he's got more touchdown upside than either one of those guys. So I'm going to have a lot of exposure to Ryan Griffin this week.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. Gerson, you got a guy in your value list here. We're going to go ahead and kick off the value tight ends. A guy that I didn't even look at and I wasn't even thinking about, so I want you to talk about him a little bit, Mr. Tyler Eifert. What do you think about him?
Can I mention my mid-tier guy?
All right, Hawkinson, I forgot. Okay, go ahead, talk about him first.
I had two guys. Go
ahead, talk about both of them.
We got Hollister and Hawkinson. Both tight ends are very targeted heavy lately. I think, no, not Hawkinson so much, but overall, Hawkinson's in a great matchup. That's one of the biggest reasons I love him. The matchup is great on paper, but Jacob Hollister, I just love this guy. I picked him up in my Dynasty League. Hooray, what's up? 3 weeks ago, and he's been killing it overall. We know one thing. Russell Wilson loves his tight end unless your name is Jimmy Graham. But anyways, Jacob Hollister, this guy, he was on the New England Patriots practice squad, and he was playing preseason. You guys remember preseason when they used to play him?
Yep.
And now he was on the practice squad, got called up, became a Seattle Seahawks. All of a sudden, he's getting 2 touchdowns from what's his name, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson doesn't even I don't know if anybody's seen the touchdown, but he's legit just whoop.
Yeah.
And fell down. So I love Jacob Hollister this week to stack him with Russell Wilson, but the value tight end that Geoff is talking about is Tyler Eifert. Overall, Eifert feels like one of those players that you never see it coming, right?
Yeah.
He gets that one touchdown, that's all he can get, right? Nobody else really wants to play him, but against the Steelers, I think the matchup is, I believe they're bottom 10 defense against tight end, correct? I don't think they're very high. I can't. Man, where's my defense?
Yeah, that sounds right.
But
they are. Yeah, they're 26. Is what I show.
Yeah, they're 26 overall in DVOA against the matchup. That's what I looked at, and I always like to my tight end. I want red zone opportunity. I think he gets that in this game. Very cheap. What is he priced at? What do I have him? What do you guys have him at?
3,100 on DraftKings.
3,100. And in this game, I don't really see. This game's going to be a slugfest. I don't really see it being a shootout, but I see Eifert getting his opportunity and hoping to get him a touchdown. And this is a contrarian play, guys. Don't go going out there and putting him in all your rosters. This is a great GPP play. There's a reason why I think everybody's paying up for tight end. Everybody's paying up for quarterback. Obviously, you're going to try to fit in a stud running back, and there's some value, but not a lot. But overall, Eifert just can contrarian GPP play for me, so I love the matchups. I'm gonna roll with him.
All right, good stuff.
Hey, can I just add one more thing to that?
Go ahead.
There's a good chance that Auden Tate may not play. I know we were going to kind of mention that when we get down. I like him even better if Auden Tate doesn't play because it looks like Geoff. I'm sorry, what's his blank on Ryan Finley. He's gonna kind of look for him if they get down into the red zone. They usually look for those big body guys. So if Auden Tate is out, I like him even better. Plus, young quarterbacks always tend to look down to their tight ends. So I don't know if he has a ton of upside in terms of yards, but he could end up having a ton of upside in terms of targets and receptions. And then obviously if he gets one of those in the red zone and falls in for a touchdown, he automatically pays off his value. So I wasn't really looking at Eifert, but I actually really like that call.
Is AJ Green playing?
Nope, he's already been ruled out.
Okay.
He's out. Yep.
Because I'll be honest. They said they're giving Auden Tate a chance to play, but usually when someone says a chance, I don't think they play. And especially that was a nasty hit. I was watching the game, and I was like, oh wow, yeah. I was like, is he moving? Is he alive? But I don't think he plays. And yeah, I like that you mentioned that, Tim. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tim. Let's go ahead and get your value tight end here because you got a guy that's not on my list either.
There's only really one other guy I had, and and that's going to be Cameron Brate. And I think part of it is just due to all the usage he had last week. Some of that may be because of O.J. Howard and that weird behind-the-back catch interception thing that he had. But, 14 targets is always a kind of an anomaly, but it's also something that you also kind of have to look at, Last week, we saw Mike Evans, Chris Godwin had, their worst games of the season. And a big part of that was because every time he dropped back, he was pretty much looking for Cameron Brate. I expect Tampa Bay to get behind here, as they usually do, which is one of the reasons we like Jameis this week. He's going to be throwing the ball a lot. And so I think he's an interesting option for 3,600. He's kind of right there in that Dallas Goedert, Vance McDonald range. I wouldn't fault you if you played either one of those two guys ahead of him, but it's rare to see a tight end not named Zach Ertz get 14 targets.
Yep.
So I definitely think he should be on your radar.
Good stuff. I got two guys that are pretty much going to be low-owned guys that we haven't talked about yet. The first one on my list is Ben Watson, obviously for the New England Patriots. He came off of the bye week last week and had a really good game. He had 4 targets, 3 catches, 52 yards. I think Dorsett and Mohamed Sanu are both questionable to play this weekend, which kind of depletes the receiving core a little bit. Brady has already shown some trust in Watson, so we know how much he likes his tight ends. So Watson could be a good sneaky play there. And the other one that, honestly, I tried to do some research on this guy. I could barely find anything on him. I even went to player profile, and he had no profile. So Caden Smith is a rookie. Plays for the Giants. Obviously, he'll get the start this week because there's no Evan Ingram, no Rhett Ellison. Both have been ruled out. Caden Smith is minimum salary. I think he's 2.5K on DraftKings. He's going against Chicago this week, and they're 28th DVOA versus the tight end. So he's a sneaky, low-owned guy that no one's going to be looking at. All he needs is a touchdown catch. And one touchdown catch will pay off his salary pretty much. I think with Jones throwing the ball and how much he likes his tight ends down there in the red zone, that could definitely be a possibility that could happen. So look at Caden Smith. Obviously keep low ownership. Don't go crazy with him, but he's one of my guys I'm looking at this week as well.
Hitting the lock button.
Yeah, don't do that. All right, is there any more guys we want to talk about before we hit the break?
Yeah. I like that Ben Watson call. I wasn't really looking at it, but Cowboys are one of the worst teams against tight ends already. And then linebacker Leighton Vander Esch just not expected to play. So I think that may end up being a sneaky good call there. So I like that.
All right, good stuff. Yeah. All right, guys, hang tight. We're going to go commercial break here. When we come back, we'll do the receivers, the running backs, and the defenses. So hold on.
In the unpredictable world of fantasy sports, when all hope seems lost and chaos and confusion rule, one hero will rise. And change everything. Going for 2.com. Because no one remembers the extra point.
All right, guys, welcome back. We are breaking down Week 12. We just tackled the quarterbacks and the tight ends. Let's go ahead and move into the running backs, and we'll go to you, Gerson, this time first. Give me your top-tier running backs this week.
I think it's just Alvin Kamara for me. Overall, I know everybody's going to go after the other guy that everybody wants to mention, but Alvin Kamara is just he's a stud. Overall, I think since he came back from his injury, everybody been kind of scared playing him. But, yeah, he gutted 122 yards against a very stingy defense of the Buccaneers. And a few games since returning from injury, the backfield's been touch split and gone 35 Kamara and 19 Murray. So it's a 65-35 split. But the Panthers been a good matchup for a running back. Unless your name is Brian Hill. But, they allowed a touchdown to Quandre Olsen, so I guess they could allow it to what's his name, Kamara. Overall, I wouldn't question someone if they go Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray stacks, to be honest. That's how much confidence I have in this game. Panthers have now allowed a rushing touchdown once every 14.7 carries, and no other team has allowed that more often than every 20.3 carries. So You take that into account. You have Alvin Kamara upside and that Drew Brees offense. I think it's setting up to be a really good matchup. I was shocked at the price too. I was like, wow, okay, because you either pay for him or
Murray,
the other guy, whatever. I mean, Voldemort. I hate saying his name. I hate saying his name because everybody always, yeah, he's a locked-in play. Yeah, he's a straight-up game block. I'm like, yeah, we get it.
CMC. Let's just say it.
Yeah, CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Okay, there we go. Happy? But, yeah, I mean, yeah, just for me, at his price at $8,200, I'm pretty much putting him in my roster. I'm going to have so much exposure to him, but he's my favorite running back play this week.
Yeah, I love Kamara as well. He's on my list as one of my top guys that I'm going to be having in my lineups as well. I think he's over that injury. He's had 2 good games in a row now. I think that that offense runs through Kamara and Mike Thomas, and I think that Kamara is a great play this week. All right, Tim.
Mike Thomas.
What's that?
Isn't it Michael Thomas?
Yeah, Mike Thomas, man.
Isn't Mike Thomas another player?
Yeah, there's another Mike Thomas.
But it's Michael Thomas.
Fine,
Michael
Thomas. I'll call him by his legit legal name.
Put some respect on his name. Put some respect.
All right, Tim. What do you got?
I agree with you. I have Alvin Kamara as my top play as well. He's one of my highest value plays on the board. So at $8,200, I agree. It's weird to say a guy at that price is a value, but it's just what I'm projecting here. And I agree on Christian McCaffrey. I've pretty much played him every single week. And I think this may be one of the few weeks that, I'm going to have exposure to him in tournaments, but he probably won't make my cash game lineup. 10-5, there's just so little value this week.
Yep.
Unless something opens up over the next couple of days, getting up to 10,500 is just going to be a real struggle for me. And he doesn't project any better for me than Alvin Kamara. They're very similar in my current projections. So why not save the $2,000 and it elsewhere you really need it? Just to add one more point there, New Orleans was 8.5-point favorite. That line has now moved to 10. Whenever I see line movement like that going for the home team, I always favor the running backs even more. So as if I could love this matchup. But I love the call by Gerson. I don't think Latavius Murray will carry nearly the ownership of Alvin Kamara, and I think that he's a really good play as well, especially if they get up really high in the third quarter. I could pretty much see him getting the entire run of the fourth quarter, as well as, touches up to that point. He could also get some of the goal line work if they get in close. So I think that he'll be way under owned. I think he makes a much better tournament play. And then the only other guy I had on my top tier list is going to be Ezekiel Elliott. Gerson mentioned that it's kind of a lower scoring game, but I think that right now, the Patriots, depending on, if you look at different numbers, the best pass defense in the league is either the 49ers or the Patriots. That's pretty much what it is. So if you're going to attack the Patriots, it's going to be on the ground. They're kind of average-ish against the ground, but I feel like whenever Dallas is on the road in one of these type of environments is when they always lean on Ezekiel Elliott. I do think that there will be some Tony Pollard mixed in, but I think he's going to get all of the goal line work. He's guaranteed to get 20-plus touches. And they even have been trying to get him a little bit more involved lately in the passing game. So I think on a week where there aren't a lot of good running back options outside of the top guy, he could come in as a, kind of a lower owned option that I think could still do really well. At least my current projections.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think you said before the show that that's going to be a possible weather game as well. So if it rains there, obviously they're going to hand the ball off even more so to Zeke. So good call on that one. The only other top guy that I had on my list is Nick Chubb going up against that Miami Dolphins defense that we all know is terrible. Everyone's kind of worried about Kareem Hunt and can they coexist? Well, the answer to that question is yes, they can coexist. Matter of fact, Kareem Hunt had a good game last week. I think he had 8 catches. Maybe 7 catches last week, but then Nick Chubb had his most carries he's had all season with 27. So I don't think there's going to be any kind of drop-off here for Nick Chubb. He'll still get his touches against the Miami Dolphins. They are not going to be able to stop him. Chubb can have easily over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns by halftime against his Dolphins defense. So definitely some Nick Chubb is going to be in a lot of my lineups as well. Tim, you got anybody else on your top tier? I thought you had another guy on your top tier as well.
I did actually have one other guy, and that's Uncle Lenny, a.k.a. Leonard Fournette. I think that this one is kind of a more of a pivot play off of Ezekiel Elliott since they're pretty much the same price. I always like to have exposure to those afternoon games. I don't know if Randy's watching in the chat, he said he wanted to play the main slate and only play the 1 p.m. games. But I think that both the running backs in this game are interesting. I guess I'll just go ahead and make the case for both of them here. And that's Leonard Fournette and Derrick Henry. I think this is a game where both teams are going to feature their running backs. The way that the main, I guess, thing for Leonard Fournette is that he's been consistently involved in the passing game this year.
Yep.
And I think that's how you want to attack the Titans. They're actually pretty good against the run, but they give up some yards in the passing game to running back. So, and then the coach came out, and, you can only listen to coach speak so much, but the coach said, hey, last week we didn't get Fournette involved enough, but we don't want to go back to, pounding him this week. So I think that that's going to be one way to go. I think I prefer Zeke in that matchup, but I wouldn't, fault you if you would rather play Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, that's a good call. I like that. I think he'll be low owned for sure. I don't think people are really looking at him as being that kind of top back, but you're right. I think he gets the volume, he gets the passing down work as well. So great call there. Just real quick, I know before the show started, I was telling y'all about my sort of situation with my 2 beers. So I put my 2 beers in the freezer before the show. One of them actually froze, unfortunately, and I was kind of hoping that it would thaw out and then taste good afterwards. I knew that it probably wouldn't. Well, it's pretty terrible. So that's the verdict, guys. Don't freeze your beer and then hope that it tastes good, because it doesn't work. I just thought I'd get into that. All right, Gerson, let's go to you. Who you got for your mid-tier running backs?
I never thought I would say this day would come. I mean, like when I saw that Josh Jacobs was priced the same as Ezekiel Elliott, I was so shocked. I was like, wow, okay. But Josh Jacobs been phenomenal this year for a rookie running back. Overall, someone in this group said that N'Keal Harry was a better dynasty player than Josh Jacobs. I'm not going to point fingers.
Hey, it's still early. It's still early.
But the Raiders have been really turning it on lately. I mean, they're 6-4. I'm not saying that just because I'm a Raider fan, but overall they have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL right now. Kind of shocking. They're the second best. They've only allowed the least second most sacks. And Jacob is just being a workhorse. Exactly what we predicted him to be. In this matchup against the Jets, overall they lost Mosley. They traded away. Was it Leonard Williams? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, they traded Leonard Williams away. Overall, that defense hasn't been nothing like they invested in. And obviously, Adam's going to have his hand full with, Darren Waller. So overall, I see Josh Jacobs. He's a clear-cut workhorse. Yeah. I mean, the Jets have allowed a 3.03 yard per carry this year, but that's without Mosley. I expect them to, opportunity comes with value.
Yep.
So Josh Jacobs getting that opportunity, I mean, he's gonna get all. He's finally turning into that workhorse we expected. Before, everybody was always worried about Jalen Richard or DeAndre Washington or someone else, But I think Raiders are just gonna run away with this game. It's gonna be. I expect the Raiders to get in the red zone quite often against this defense. And Jacob, for me, is definitely my top play, the mid-tier running back. Another guy I want to talk about was Derrick Henry, which Tim mentioned. I love that call. But on the other side, Le'Veon Bell. Last week I think people for like 3 weeks now, even people in season long, they traded for this guy. They're like, oh, buy low, But he disappointed. But last week he came through. I think in this game against the Oakland Raiders, he can have at least over 100 yards and get some PPR upside. He came out with 17 points last week, I believe. And he's really, really underpriced. He's at 60. Where's he at?
6,400, yeah.
Yeah, 6,400. So overall, I'm gonna have Bell and Jacob both in the same game. So yeah, those are my mid-tier plays.
All right. Good
Hey,
stuff.
before we move on, Geoff, there was a top-tier guy you didn't really talk about, and I want to make sure we don't skip over him because I think he's one of the better plays on the slate as well.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's Nick Chubb.
He said it. He
did? I'm sorry. I must have. I pulled the Gerson. Yeah, I definitely don't want to skip over Nick Chubb. I mean, I think he's one of my favorite plays on the slate as well. I mentioned earlier that Alvin Kamara is my top projected points per dollar running back. As Gerson just mentioned, Le'Veon Bell is my number 2. I think that I'm going to have a lot of lineups where it's going to be Kamara and Bell. So I love that call as well. But somebody in the chat, I think it was Garrett, mentioned that he likes he really likes Chubb and Hunt, and that he probably will play them in the same GPP lineup. I think that's an interesting idea, but I definitely can see the idea there. They've been using Hunt a lot of different ways since he's come back.
Yep.
I think they've even lined him up outside a few times, just to get him involved. So I could definitely see a situation where both of them have a really good game. So
Yep.
I want to make sure I mention that guy as well.
Good
That
call.
sounded so funny. I like to Chubb and Hunt.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Next mid-tier guy I got is, he's kind of priced up from where I thought, he'd be priced at, but I do think he's still a good play. Jalen Samuels, obviously, James Conner is out. We've already mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster might miss this game as well. That opens up a ton of targets that might go to Vance. They also might go to Jalen Samuel out of the backfield. I think the last time he had the backfield to himself, he had 13 catches. If he can get that amount of catches and get some running work as well against this terrible defense, I think he can have a really big game. So Samuels, like I said, he is priced up. I think, was he 7.4 on DraftKings? Is that right?
7,200.
72.
I have a question. Do you have any concern about Benny Snell, because he should play this game?
I don't, because I haven't seen a whole lot from Snell. I just think Samuels is the much better guy. He's, like I said, he's the passing down guy. He can get the ball to the backfield. So I'm not too worried about Snell, honestly.
Okay.
I have an opinion on that.
Go ahead.
Oh, come on, Gerson.
So you guys remember when James Conner was out a couple weeks ago and Jalen Samuel just went he went bonker.
Yep.
They were running the Wildcat and all that stuff.
Yep.
I think this is going to be like the same situation, kind of like this. This is the Cincinnati Bengals defense, guys. I mean, they can do anything they want. So
Yeah.
what I think they'll do, they'll use Benny Snell and the other backup, Edmund, I think his name is, as the running back, the true running backs, and they'll use Jalen Samuel out in like the wide receiver position, the H-back position, because he used to play fullback. I mean, he used to play tight end in college.
Yep.
So he's a very good pass catcher. They're going to use him all over the place. He's going to be like that super utility guy.
Yep.
So I don't even mind some Benny Snell in GPP.
Yep. That Bengals defense is historically bad against the run, and I think that Samuels is a good play there. I think I mentioned it way back in like week 7 or week 8. There was a tweet that was put out so the Bengals had played 7 games to that point, and they put out a tweet of how many teams have allowed how many RB1s or RB2s this season. In 7 games, the Bengals had allowed 11 RB1s or RB2s. So basically, they had more than one RB1 or RB2 in a game, which is just crazy. So the Bengals defense is not good, guys. I think that Samuels, it is a little bit of a pay up than what we're used to paying for him, but I do think it's worth it. All right, is there anybody else we haven't talked about in that mid-tier we want to talk about? I know y'all said Bell. Who wants to talk about Bell? You both got him on your list.
Yeah, we talked about him a little bit.
All right, you want
Go to Gerson, damn it.
All right, you want to move to the values then, Gerson? Let's go ahead and move to the values.
Just gonna throw in Saquon Barkley is a good play, but the value play for me, my favorite personal value play is Philip Lindsay. I think in this match, I feel like every time I see Philip Lindsay's name, I just think of him like when he nailed the nasty.
All the week.
Yeah, that was awesome.
This is Buffalo. I mean, they're ranked like 30th overall in DVOA, I believe, or like bottom 3, bottom 4, or something like that. But I have him projected for almost 15 points at 5,200. And the crazy part is, I saw his ownership. No, like this is definitely a straight up great GPP play. 3% ownership. I was shocked because it's such a great spot for him. And I know Geoff has the other guy on the other side, but I think this is more of a game for Philip Lindsay, as he's more of a better pass-catching running back. But I just want a lot of Philip Lindsay this week. I think he's going to be contrarian, and he's probably my favorite value play, actually. So I know the 2 other guys that a lot of people are on right now kind of scares me. So I'm just going to play Lindsay.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the guy you were kind of alluding to a little bit on the other side, so to speak, and that's Royce Freeman. And I'll kind of explain why I have him. I think he's $1,000 cheaper than Philip Lindsay. And people just kind of look at this Bills defense and think, oh, this is a good defense. You can't run against them. But that's not true. I think they're like the 28th to 29th ranked DVOA team against the run. So the way you beat the Bills is to run the ball. And with the Denver Broncos and their quarterback situation that they have there, they're going to run the ball a ton. So I think that Lindsay and Royce Freeman both have value. And if I'm going to pay for one of those guys, give me the one that's $1,000 cheaper than the other one. I think Royce Freeman can get the workload here and put some good numbers up here. Even with a limited workload, can be still pretty good at. I think he's 4.7 on DK, I believe, if I remember correctly. So that's my reasoning behind Royce Freeman. But I agree. I think Lindsey's a good play as well because that Buffalo defense is not very good against the run at all. All right, Tim.
I have a quick stat. I also had Philip Lindsay on my list. I mean, I like him, obviously. I kind of feel like, as Gerson said, I'm kind of like the Philip Lindsay whisperer a little bit. But I read this stat, and I really liked it. And it said, Buffalo has stacked the box with 8+ defenders less than 1% of the time in run defense snap. And while Philip Lindsay has shredded light boxes for 5.9 yards per carry compared to 2.5 yards per carry when the opposing defense box is stacked. So that's pretty much his bread and butter, man. He loves when they give him a seven man in the box kind of look. So I mean, if you're talking about almost 6 yards per carry, he's pretty much had. And last week, I think the big thing is that the Broncos really made an effort to get Philip Lindsay the ball. It was the first time in several weeks that he had out-snapped Royce Freeman. So, I mean, I still think 5,200 is fairly low compared to his, if there really was a role change here. He's not, as you mentioned, going to be used a whole lot in the passing game, but if they're going to be seeing a lot of, seven-man boxes and Philip Lindsay can get those 5 yards per carry, he doesn't even need 20 carries, like Gerson said, to pay off value.
Yep.
I think he's also probably going to get the stuff when they get in close. I think he's probably going to get the red zone work. We obviously didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to see that, but last week was kind of a weird game because they got up on the Vikings and then just kind of slowly let the Vikings come back on them. So I think some of that may have just been game script, but I still don't see a situation where he plays less than 50% of the snaps. So I think Gerson mentioned on a week where there's not a lot of good value plays, I think he's pretty interesting. But another guy at the same price range that I like, a game we mentioned earlier, is going to be James White. James White's had a pretty consistent pass game role all year. And Sony Michel, I mean, I don't know what happened to Sony Michel, but he just looks terrible.
He died?
Yeah,
he did. No, he did. He died and was resurrected and was like half the guy he was before. But, James White had 7 targets last week. He didn't have a real good game, but he was playing against Philly, who's known to have a pretty good front seven. And I think that Dallas has not a great front seven. Their defensive line is okay, but their linebackers are average. And I already mentioned Leighton Vander Esch is going to be out. So you'll see a lot of old man Sean Lee running on his one leg. So I think it's very possible that, we always say there's that one James White game every year. And I think that this very well could be it. I have him projected for between, 5 and 7 targets. And so I think that's probably enough alone to pay off that $5,300 in salary. So I love the Philip Lindsay call. Obviously, I'm going to be heavy on Lindsay, but I'm also going to have good exposure to James White. Good call.
All right, I'm going to mention my quick, the one that I had that y'all don't have on your list, Kareem Hunt. We talked about a little bit earlier. They can't coexist there in that backfield. He's had a ton of catches the past couple games. I think he's had 23 overall touches the past couple games, and I think that continues here. I think that he becomes the passing down back, so to speak. He can still run the ball. Obviously, he's been a really good running back in this league for a long time, so I think that he can definitely be a good play again versus Miami. Terrible defense. He's going to get plenty of work. But there's 2 guys that I want to talk about that y'all have on your list. We'll go to you first, Gerson, with Bo, and then I'm going to let Tim kind of explain that guy that he got from Miami.
Bo Scarborough, is that how you say his name?
Scarborough.
Yeah.
Scarborough. Yeah, former Alabama running back. Usually Alabama running backs suck in the NFL unless your name is Mark Ingram. But he got a lot of work. He got a lot of touches last week. I know I just tell people, I mean, this feels like, okay, we're going to put a chalk running back. Like, his ownership is up there. Let me check it real quick. Well, I'm on the quarterback tab. I don't know why. But his ownership's up there. I mean, we got Alvin Kamara at 33%, 23% for McCaffrey, 23% for Chubb, and then Bo Scarborough is at 14%. So, I mean, it feels the same situation as Brian Hill and Ty Johnson in the same backfield. And then there was another running back, but it just feels like this is the same situation, right? But we have to mention him because obviously if people in the field are mentioning him, they're not going to be like, oh, are they skipping out on him? We're not skipping out on him. I just don't think he's as strong as a player as a Philip Lindsay for, what is it, $800 less?
Yep.
You know, I always want volume from running back, and yes, he got the volume last week, but this is not like a situation where I'm like all in on him. Yes, I'll have some exposure to him, but temporary expectation last week. Yes, he did good, but like Tim said before the podcast, he used to be on the Cowboys, so like maybe that played a little bit into his workload. But also, I believe they only had like 2 active running backs last week, if that's correct, right?
Yeah, McKissick and himself and Bud was the only ones. I think Ty Johnson was out.
Yeah, Ty Johnson was out, and it looked like he's gonna be back right this week, I believe.
Yep.
I mean, he got 14 rush attempts, 1 rushing touchdown. Take away that 1 rushing touchdown, he would have only gotten you like 5.5 yards, 5.5 points. You know, so 3.93 yards per carry. Yeah, sure, maybe, but doesn't really have receiving upside. I'm telling you guys right now.
Yep. All right, Tim.
He will not be on any snaps that involve the pass other than to block. This one hurts me, guys, and I've seen some people in the industry talk about him. He's terrible, but this week, first of all, I want to mention Garrett in the chat also mentioned Darius Geis. I'm not really on Geis this week. I think that Adrian Peterson is projected to play, and so if they're going to split early down work and then we're going to see Smallwood on passing downs, I just can't pay for somebody that's projected for a smaller role. I know he had a good breakout last week, but most of it was on 1 long touchdown. He very well could break out another long touchdown this week. We know how terrible the Lions' run defense is, but I can't play him with any degree of confidence. Which brings me to my next play, which has no degree of confidence, and that's Kalen Ballage. A big part of this is 2 things. One, it's his pass game role. Obviously, on DraftKings, we're looking for the guy that gets the passing down work. Last week, he was pretty much used as a pass catcher. He had 9 rushes, but he had 6 targets, which is how he ended up basically paying off his salary plus that 1 touchdown. But I don't like the 1.6 average on the catches, but that is one way you can get to Cleveland. And I do expect that they're probably going to have to use him as a pass catcher. And then obviously they cut Mark Walton this week. Now I do think the guys behind him will see some work as well. But again, on a week where we're starved for value, I think that 4,400 with somebody who you know is going to project out to 15-ish touches is going to be hard to pass up. He's only 200 more than Bo Scarborough, who you know is going to get no passing down work. He's probably also going to get the goal line work, or at least I'm projecting him to get that. So, again, as Gerson mentioned, find the 800 to get up to Phillip Lindsay or the 900 to get up to James White. But if you just love the rest of your lineup and you just need one last guy for 4,400, I think you could do worse than Kalen Ballage, which is tough for me to say.
And don't be without, while one guy's injured, the other guys just think it's cool to beat other quarterbacks with a helmet. Larry Ogunjobi and Miles Garrett are not going to be on the defensive line. And then Mark Walton, you're a piece of shit, by the way. So, I mean, basically, without all those 3 guys there in that field, I mean, I can see Ballage. I nearly threw up when I saw him on my radar. I'm like, okay. Because sometimes I hate hearing about stats. And, like, the one stat that kept coming in my head was, like, he Ballage 1.91 yards per carry was ranked last. And I was like, okay, I don't care about, like, the moment or, like, whatever. I care about what I can see, But I love that call, Tim. Patrick Laird or Laird?
Yep. Laird.
I say Laird. This guy is a PPR running back, so, like, if you wanted to get really contrarian, he can get workload, but I mean, I want to get that cute, to be honest. But I don't even know how much he is on DraftKings, but I just remember about him.
He's 3,400.
So, yeah, man.
But he has 0 floor. Like, I agree with you. Like, they're going to use him as a PPR back. Like, he might as well be like, I don't know, Alex Erickson with a lower floor. You know what I mean? Like, that's really how they use him. But I mean, if you play Patrick Laird, I think you understand that your floor is 0.
Yeah. He might even fumble and give you a -2.
That is correct. That is entirely possible. Yeah.
All right, guys. Of course, as always, we're running long, so we're gonna have to hurry up and get to these receivers here. Let's go ahead and do the top tier receivers. Tim, who you got?
Number one guy, man, it's Michael Thomas every week. Michael Thomas. Put some respect on his name, right? No, I mean, the volume that this guy gets is just incredible. You pretty much can pencil him in for 10 targets every week. I don't think that's going to be any difference. I know he's going to get, whatever Carolina's top cornerback, but he's Michael fucking Thomas, man. Just play him. Like, he's 9,300 this week. He gets a $600 discount from his price last week. And, he's going to be there. So I really like the next guy. I think we all like the next guy on my list here, so I'm going to let y'all talk about him. But, like we mentioned, in my opinion, the Saints are a little bit underpriced. I think everybody's going to be on Kamara, and for good reason. So I think that you probably will get Michael Thomas at lower ownership than you probably would most weeks. So yep. I definitely think, and he's still got the same 30-plus point upside that he does any other week. So definitely don't skip over him. Going to say, okay, James Bradbury is going to cover him. Okay, and?
Yeah. I wanted to add a little bit more to Michael Thomas since we need to, but he has 94 receptions through 10 games. That's the most in the NFL, in NFL history, and that's how great he's been. But no other receiver in the NFL has more than 75 receptions.
Wow.
And so, and to give you another stat that I dropped my jaw on, he has more total yards in reception than the whole what's their name? Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver core.
Wow, that's insane.
That's how great he is this year. So I'm all in on Mike Thomas. No, I'm just kidding. Michael Thomas. I love him. I think the other top guy that we have to mention is you can go either way. Mike Evans or Chris Godwin in this matchup. Might as well just name all three of the three receivers in that game: Mike Evans, Godwin, and Julio Jones. There's no ifs, ands, or buts or go the wrong way because this is just the game that everybody's just going to stack. My highest ownership going that way. But if I were to pick one out of those three receivers, it would definitely be Mike Evans for me. I think he has the highest GPP for, I guess you can say, because we have those 40-point games. Yeah. And this is definitely a spot I want to target Mike Evans. But you can't go wrong, really. I mean, you can if one of them goes off for 40 points, but they all have and in prime positions.
Yeah, I agree.
I definitely think it's a Julio week. I mean, I love Michael Thomas. I think it's going to be tough to get both of those guys in a lineup. First of all, let's just talk about how crazy it is that at one point this season, Michael Thomas was $6,500.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're going to be paying this week for Calvin Ridley and DJ Chark and shit like that. Like, it took, he started off like $8,000 and DraftKings was like, all right, well, we're going to lower his price a little bit. And then he hit a 44-point week and they were like, yeah, we fucked up.
Yeah.
People actually faded him. Joe. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, it was the Bridgewater effect, I believe. It was the Bridgewater effect.
Yeah, it was the Bridgewater effect. I agree with you there. But, no, I agree. I think that, Julio, if he was ever going to go off, this is the week to do it. No team gives up more points to wide receiver ones than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's always historically played better at home. So, this if he's going to do it, this is the week.
Yep.
Obviously, I love the Evans call. Earlier in the year, I'm kind of a gother, but obviously I've had to back off that. They seem to play him a lot more bracket coverage. I think teams have kind of figured out how to keep him contained by playing that two-man bracket in the middle. So it's obviously hurt him. They still use him around the goal line, but he doesn't have that big play upside that Mike Evans does. And then one other guy, which is one of my favorite plays on the week this week, another guy who hasn't really shown up this year, and that's Odell Beckham. No team gives up more touchdowns, especially to speedy receivers, than the Miami Dolphins. We've seen, Terry McLaurin burned him, John Brown burned him twice, and this is going to be the week, I think, for Odell Beckham. Little preview: he'll be in my stack later. It's one of my favorite plays on the whole slate. He's 7,000, so he's kind of right on that edge of being a top tier price. I also like Jarvis Landry on the other side. We'll obviously talk about him in a minute. But, for the upside, for that slate-breaking upside, 7,000 for Odell Beckham, just play him. I hate to say it, but just play him.
Yep,
he's $1,000 less than Julio and $2,300 less than Michael Thomas. He doesn't have the floor, obviously, that Michael Thomas does, but if we wake up, or not wake up, it's, whatever, Sunday night, we're like, oh, damn, Odell breaks the slate. Who saw that coming? It'd be like, everybody, bro.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, there's one guy that we didn't get to on the top tier that I just want to mention real quick, and that's Lockett, Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks. I think he's supposed to play. I know there's a little bit of questionable status there for a little while, but I think he's been removed from the injury list. So obviously, if we like Russ Wilson, we're going to like Lockett as well because they've just been amazing together. And that Eagles secondary is not very good. They're playing better of late, but they're still not great. And I think Wilson and Lockett can sort of eat them up. So that was my last top tier value. I also had OBJ and Landry on my list, and then one more guy I wanted to bring up is Jamison Crowder. I think he's the Jets' number one receiver right now, not Robbie Anderson. He's getting all the targets. He's getting the red zone looks. He's Darnold's go-to when he's in trouble. So Jamison Crowder, I think, against that Oakland defense, who we know is pretty porous against the pass. They're a pretty good run defense, but not against the pass. So I think that Darnold will be looking for Crowder quite a bit over the middle of the field. So those are my top tier and mid tier guys. Gerson, you got any mid tier guys you wanted to mention before we move to the values?
DJ Shark. I mean, he was targeted 15 times last game. I think a lot of people were off him due to Nick Foles' very shitty game first time. But they lost Malcolm Butler, the Titans. Now, this guy has just been underrated all season. I think it's time to finally admit he's the real deal. A very good wide receiver. They've now allowed 100-yard receivers in 3 straight games after only allowing one in the first 7 games. So I like Shark a lot in this game. The other guy I want to talk about was Julian Edelman against the Dallas Cowboys. One of the best ways to attack the Dallas Cowboys through the slot. Overall, we know how great of a slot wide receiver Julian Edelman is. I mean, you have to go back all the way back to week 4 to find the last time that Edelman finished top 24, outside the top 24. Wow. So, I mean, that tells you how consistent he is and how good of a wide receiver he is. And Tom Brady has been nursing this elbow injury or something. So if it tells you anything, I mean, if you've ever played football, you know you need an elbow to throw a football. So you kind of need an arm and a hand, and a shoulder. Maybe like a whole body would be great, but I mean, I can see, maybe they play more.
Anatomy lessons with Gerson.
That is, very deep. But no, you need the player, obviously. But no, so yeah, I mean, I can see a lot of short route with that elbow injury, maybe a lot of underneath stuff for Julian Edelman and stuff. But I definitely really, really like Julian Edelman this week. But those are the only mid-trade. You guys nailed it. OBJ all the way, man.
Yep.
Hey, one other thing to add to you is that Cowboys get killed in the screen game. Yep. And almost no wide receiver gets targeted more in the screen game than Julian Edelman. Mm-hmm. So like you said, if a quarterback, he's going to be looking for the slot, he's going to be looking for those quick screens, get the ball on the outside, block him downfield. Cowboys can't cover that, so I love that call.
Yeah, and if Brady's elbow is really that bad, maybe we have some passing touchdown upside with Edelman like he had last week.
Yeah,
baby.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, they'll pull. Normally, you wouldn't think of the Patriots when it comes to like gadget plays, but they're just like, it's Edelman. Just let him do it.
Yep.
I do have one other mid-tier guy I want to talk about before we go to the values, and that's Allen Robinson. I think if this guy was playing on any team that was not quarterbacked by Mitch Trubisky, he would probably be like $7,500 going against the Giants. I mean, they're just so bad. They can't cover anybody at the wide receiver position. You were just talking about Jamison Crowder. He obviously went off against them in that game when they played the Jets against the Giants. And I think that Allen Robinson, even though he's got Mitch Trubisky as his quarterback, I mean, I could probably find a way to get him the ball against the Giants. So, I mean, he's going to be – I don't think he's going to be as popular as some of the other guys we've talked about, Calvin Ridley, Jarvis Landry, DJ Chark. But, I mean, he's got the upside that I definitely think you have to consider him this week.
All right, good stuff. All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick off the values here. My top value on the slate right now is Mr. Devontae Parker, if you can believe it. I'm actually going to use this guy. I mean, he was a preseason darling for so many years. He's finally breaking out. If y'all watched my Tuesday show, we had Bob Lung on, who's an award-winning guy. He created the consistency guide for fantasy football. He has a clutch rating. And basically what that is when a receiver falls within the top 24 in a week, he gets the clutch rating. And Parker's got 7 straight clutch rating hits for his year this year. And he's 80% consistent, which the only receiver that's higher than 80% right now is Michael Thomas. So Devontae Parker, believe it or not, against this Cleveland Browns defense, it's a good sort of comeback, if you will, with a Baker Mayfield OBJ stack. You can kind of bring Parker back for a pretty good stack there. But Parker is my top value. Gerson, we'll go to you for your value.
Damn it! I was hoping you didn't ask me about him. No, it's Tim Patrick. I've seen him being talked a lot, not a lot, but he's word on him, and he's basically drawing really good value for me. Honestly, I didn't know who the hell he was, so I had to go research him. Then I was like, okay, how do I talk about? I thought it was Tim Strobo for a second. But no, I mean he's coming at almost 10 points for me projected. But the ownership is at 1%. I mean the price is incredible though, $3,000. I mean you can't get any better than that.
Yep.
Maybe if you really want to go contrarian, you want to get that low ownership, and you need to save a lot of money, Tim Patrick's the way to go. He's at $3,000. I mean, this is a very tough slate, guys. Yep. So maybe, this is contrarian, though. Don't be going I'm going to lock him in,
Yep.
But I love Tim Patrick this week, and that's probably the way I'm probably looking to play a lot in GPP. Hoping kind of remind me of the Trey Quinn week. Remember when what's his name went down? Paul Richardson? No.
Yeah.
There's Terry McLaurin with the injury. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll take it. But Tim Patrick for me.
Yeah,
I think it says a lot about how the Broncos feel about Tim Patrick that he hadn't played since week 1. He comes back last week and plays 73% of snaps.
Yep.
Yeah.
So obviously they see him as the number 2 guy. And he's still minimum, right? $3,000.
Yep,
he's the most viable player, at least in my opinion, at this point, at $3,000. So like you said, if you're looking for that guy just to punt and stack everything else up, I love Tim Patrick. One other guy I want to talk about, and I played him last week, and he kind of burned me, but I always like to play the guy after he's popular, and that's Russell Gage. One of the best matchups this week, or any week, is slots against Tampa Bay. Last week, if he doesn't drop that, pass in the end zone or have it ripped out of his hands, he probably gets a significant price increase.
Yep.
But they only moved him to $3,900. I just think that this one is purely matchup based, just because I think I forgot his name. What was it? Mike Edwards, the slot corner for Tampa Bay, is like the worst corner in the league right now. He gives up more points per route than any other corner in the league. So at $3,900, I think that he makes an interesting play. Obviously, had he not dropped that ball last week, you could say, okay, he gets targeted in the end zone. I guess he still gets targeted. We just got to see him actually bring it in this time.
Yep.
So I like the Tim Patrick call if you're going to pay all the way down. But if you want to play somebody I think has a little bit better matchup, because Buffalo's pass defense is pretty good. Play the guy with the best, arguably, matchup on the slate.
Yep, I love both those calls. I had Russell Gage and Tim Patrick on my list as well. Tim Patrick, actually, I think it was last year he came in and came out of nowhere and had a string of 4 or 5 really good games in season long, because a guy I know that added him as a Broncos fan was talking about him pretty much all off season. So Patrick's a pretty good receiver there, and we know that they have Cortland Sutton on the other side to kind of draw that double coverage, and I think Patrick can definitely get loose and has some good stats there. So, and Russell Gage as well. He catches that touchdown last week. We're talking differently about him this week. So I think in that high-scoring game, I think all those receivers, Julio Jones, Ridley, and Gage, are all going to be viable. I believe Hooper is out, right, guys? He's definitely ruled out this week.
He's out.
Yeah, so that's more targets to go around to those receivers. So I like all 3 receivers there for Atlanta. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the defenses now. Gerson, we'll go to you first. Who do you got for your defense this week?
Good job, Geoff. You didn't skip it.
I almost did.
I think this week is pretty much for me a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Just come on, guys. It's the Bengals. it's just the Bengals. I don't really need to explain that. I don't see these guys on you guys' list at all. Chicago Bears. You guys have them?
Nope.
Okay, so I like to play defense that are lowly owned, right? But I thought the Bears would be lowly owned, and they're not. They're actually at 13%, so it kind of came to a shocker to me. I was like, wow, 13%, and they are projected for almost 10.5 points on my projection radar, and I was like, damn it, now I don't feel sneaky at all. If you guys know anything about me, I always try to play those contrarian defense, but Dwayne Haskins, Danny Dime or Danny Penny, as I like to call him. He's the turnover machine. We've seen him turn the ball over when he gets pressured. Overall, right now I have what's his name? The Chicago Bears getting almost a 1.5 turnover and almost 4 sacks against that offense. And I'm gonna play. What's their name? The Giants have the 32nd best matchup always against defense, like allowed points. So I definitely like Chicago Bears in this game. 3,700, though. It's a little bit pricier than what people want to pay for a defense sometimes, especially for a defense that have kind of been mediocre this year.
Yep.
But I think this is a spot where they turn up, and they need to turn up sooner or later. Actually, no, don't turn up. I need you guys to pick for the Raiders' sake.
All right, Tim, what do you got for your defense?
Yeah, my top defense, well, other than the Steelers, I think if you can afford them, they're the highest price on the slate, but I think they're the way to go. It's going to be the Falcons. We've seen over the last couple of weeks, they've been playing so much better. They've been pressuring at a much higher rate than they were earlier in the season. I like the DraftKings. They always price players up, offensive skill players against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and now they've started pricing up defenses against Jameis.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. I thought that was pretty interesting. They're at 3,500, but I do think that they project to be, pretty well. But I think this week, for me, it's Cincinnati Bengals. I know they're not good, but neither is Mason Rudolph. I think we saw that last Thursday night.
Good point.
And obviously he will be without his center, Marquise Pouncey. So, they're $2,100. They don't need a whole lot to pay off their salary. And this week we're looking for value, and I think one of the easiest ways to find value, DraftKings noticed that ever since they lowered the floor from $2,000 on defenses, everybody just started playing all of the sub-2K defenses.
Yep.
So they were like, okay, we're going to raise it back to 2K again. So the Dolphins are 2K, and then Cincy is 2,100, so they're the second cheapest. It's a divisional game. Those games are traditionally lower scoring. I know we like a lot of the offensive skill players for Pittsburgh, but traditionally defensive scoring comes through sacks. It comes through turnovers. And we saw Mason Rudolph throw it to everybody but his teammates last Thursday night. And like I said, he loses his center. So I think that Cincinnati could be a good, interesting value and allow you to fit in all the other guys we talked about.
Yep.
He loses his helmet.
Yeah, I'm on all those defenses as well. The only one that I wanted to mention just quickly, because we're up against the clock again, is the Denver Broncos against the Bills. I think the Broncos defense has been playing much better. The Bills is they're a decent offense, but they're not anything great. I think they can stop the run and then force Josh Allen to pass it more, and he's definitely a little bit turnover prone. And the Broncos last week had 5 sacks versus Kirk Cousins, so they can definitely get out the quarterback. And I think that that game's going to be ugly anyway. I think both defenses are probably viable in that game. It's going to be a very low-scoring defensive game. So the Broncos are the ones I want to go with because they're cheaper than the Bills. I think almost $1,000 cheaper than the Bills. So I think the Broncos are going to be a contrarian tournament play for me this week. All right, let's do our stacks.
And now, the stacks of the week.
All right, Tim, I'm going to go to you first because you got your sheet done first, and you took the stack that both me and Gerson wanted to put on there. So we'll go ahead and give you the floor. Give us your stack of the week.
Yeah, apparently you just want to play this stack all over the place because all three of us wanted it. I mentioned it earlier, and that's going to be Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, and bring it back with Devontae Parker. I think that kind of makes the most sense. It's fairly priced, and it allows you to fit in a lot of other guys around it. I mean, Mayfield's a great value play. Parker's a great value play. And like I said, I think Odell has one of the highest possible ceilings on the slate. So if you're looking for a kind of 3 guys to kind of mix and match players around, I really like those 3. You could sub out Odell for Landry, but I don't think that he has quite the upside that Odell does. There's really nobody else other than maybe Kalen Balazs I would play for Miami. So I would pretty much just stick to Devontae Parker and then just kind of mix and match from there.
Yep, I love that. I love that as well. That's one of the more popular ones, I believe. Gerson, what do you got for your stack of the week?
The one he said, just kidding. No, I had that stack for sure. But I think I'm going a different route. A lot of people are really going on the Atlanta Matt Ryan game or the Atlanta Tampa Bay game. I'm going more Seattle Philadelphia game. I think that game is going to be one of my higher owned stacks of the week, and it's going to be both ways. But Wilson, Metcalf, Lockett, and Ertz are my stack, and then there's going to be a guy that's going to be my sit call in that game that I'm probably going to swap him in there with either Metcalf or Lockett. Damn it, I just ruined it.
All right, so my stack of the week is that Atlanta game because Tim took mine and I couldn't take it, but I think you can't go wrong. Matt Ryan, pretty much insert any Falcons receiver. You can go Julio there if you want to really pay up. You can go Ridley. You can go Gage if you want to get that value. And then bring it back with Mike Evans on the other side, and you can even mix and match that with Evans or Godwin. I prefer Evans, but that stack is going to be a pretty popular stack, but you got to have it because it could be a huge slate breaker if you don't have that stack in there. All right, it's time for the sick call.
And now, the sick call of the week.
All right, Gerson, since you pretty much gave yours away, we'll go to you first.
No, I didn't. It's Josh Gordon. I'm going to swap him in with either Lockett or Metcalf. Probably more than likely Lockett because he's more expensive, so I can afford other position. Gordon is 4,200, really cheap. He played in 27 of the 73 snaps last week, 2 weeks ago in the Seahawks debut, and now he has a bye week, so he's coming back. He should get more into the playbook, more into the offense. Going to be covered by Jalen Smith, who's been a very hit and miss kind of cornerback cover, but I think Gordon, if he ran 27 of the 73 snap, and he should definitely get a lot more targeted in this game. And I expect the way you beat the Eagles is through the pass. So Gordon 4,200, pretty cheap.
Yeah,
how you play for me?
Love it, love it. All right, Sam, what you got for your sick call?
Yeah, so my sick call is kind of obviously dependent on some news coming out. As of right now, it does not look like Jordan Howard is going to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. So my sick call is going to be Jay Ajayi. Obviously he was signed last week, but he was only to be used in an emergency situation. I think that they've got him kind of back into the game plan, ready for this week. I think he could see a large amount of carries. And Seattle has actually given out a decent amount of yards on the ground. I think that we could end up seeing him taking a lot of that early down work and leaving the pass game role for Miles Sanders. Obviously, like I said, this is dependent on Jordan Howard being out. Otherwise, I really don't think he's in play. But at $3,000, I mean, if there's anybody that's going to project for 10 to 12 touches, I think it's hard to ignore them. So definitely keep an eye on the news. But if Howard's out, I like Jay Ajayi a lot.
All right, good stuff. The last one I got, this guy, we've had him a couple times, I think, mentioned either as a value or as a sick call, and it just has not paid off yet. But this is going to be the Robbie Anderson week. It's finally going to come. It's finally going to happen, guys. He's going to catch 2 deep touchdowns. I'm calling it right here on the podcast. He's finally going to get deep. He's going to get loose against that Oakland Raiders defense and catch 2 deep touchdowns from Sam Darnold. That's my sick call of the week right there.
Gonna go deep and loose, huh?
All right, so Darnold, Robbie Anderson, bring it back with Darren Waller. Okay, I got it.
Got it. There's the winning stack right there. Good stuff.
Lock in Balaj, lock in Tim Patrick. Okay, keep going.
There's your cash game lineup right there.
Yeah.
All right, Gerson, give us an idea of where we can find you at this weekend.
You can find me at the DFS Roundtable / the Fantasy G podcast, or it might be the other way around. I can't remember. But I'm also at the Fantasy G pod at Twitter, on Twitter. Find me there. I'll be doing a GPP write-up this week for sure. But this is a GPP week. Don't get cute with it, bro.
Yeah, don't get cute with it. All right, Sam, where can we follow you at?
Yeah, the DFS Roundtable is the best place to find me. I'm always active in that group. And then if you want to hit me on Twitter, it's at KetoDFS. I've been trying to get more on Twitter lately, so you can certainly message me there as well.
All right, and just a quick program note, guys. We're trying to work it out, but I don't know if we're going to have a show next week for Thanksgiving. I think we're going to have a quick segment on our Tuesday show for the Thursday game, for the Thanksgiving games, but I don't know if we're going to have a full slate show. Just because I work retail and Black Friday is a tough day to actually try to do a show. But we will try to work it out. If we can figure it out, we will have one. If not, we will return the following week and give you all of our top plays. So as always,
just to make one note on that, Geoff,
go ahead.
If we're not able to do a show on Tuesday, I will definitely do a Thanksgiving 3-game write-up in the round table. So one way or another, we have you covered on Thanksgiving content.
All right, good stuff. Now I can hit the outro music. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. You can follow me here every Tuesday and Friday on the Armchair Fantasy Show and GoingFor2.com. Tim, bring us out of here.
Go Pack, go! Fuck the Niners.